What is up, webheads? Welcome back to another very exciting Marvel Spider-Man 2 related video where today I'm going to be diving into my full review of Marvel Spider-Man 2. I'm going to be talking about spoilers, I'm going to be talking about the story, the gameplay, all of that good stuff. But before I get into the actual to really talk about the game, I do want to give a very big shout out to my cousin Luke. He hit me up one day and he's completely surprised me with it, and it was an early Christmas gift as he called it. So I do have the collector's edition. Here's the steel bookcase. Haven't put the game in, my physical copy in yet, but I do have it. Thing's freaking beautiful. Love it. And then of course the crown jewel of it all, the 19 inches of Venom. I got it, and it would not be possible without my cousin Luke. So everybody give Luke a big shout out in the chat. Thank you so much, brother. It wouldn't be possible without you. I'm trying to collect everything I can for this game because of how awesome it is, but without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the review. The first thing I really wanted to touch upon is my absolute favorite part of this game is Peter Parker, Spider-Man with the symbiote. Yuri Lowenthal, we already knew he was a great voice actor and just a great fit for Peter Parker in this Insomniac universe. We knew he was a perfect fit. Right from the get-go, from that first game, and even in Miles Morales, we knew he was amazing. But there was a big question of, what's his symbiote, demeanor and voice going to be like? I don't think anyone had doubts, but they were just really curious because he's a very upbeat, lighthearted funny Spider-Man. So when we first saw the little tease of what we'd be getting with Yuri Lowenthal in the symbiote suit during the gameplay trailer, that was just a little taste, and we really got treated. We got so spoiled with his performance in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and I know Caboose has been saying this a lot, and honestly, I'm right there with Caboose in saying, if Yuri Lowenthal doesn't win an award at the Game Awards for Best Performance, I honestly I'm gonna be in total shock, because I know I don't play a ton of other video games, but just from this performance alone, it is worthy of an award of that caliber. Yuri Lowenthal literally knocked it out of the park with this one. I mean, there's a reason that was by far my favorite part of this game. It's my favorite comic issue right back there, but Yuri Lowenthal really did it justice, and I was just so pleased with his performance, and that's why it's my favorite part. He just captured the evilness of Peter. It didn't right away step into being like a big jerk. He slowly but surely and gradually shifted into that downward spiral of letting the symbiote completely take control of him, and he just got worse and worse as the time went on. But some other parts of this game that I absolutely enjoy, I'm not going to touch on every single one, because if I was going to, we'd be here for hours on end. Honestly, the gameplay is going to be a close second. The gameplay in this game compared to Miles Morales and Spider-Man PS4 2018, it's night and day. I was telling a few buddies of mine, it's going to be really tough if I ever want to, I'm obviously going to, but if I'm going to go back and play Spider-Man PS4, because of all the brand new features in the gameplay that are in Marvel Spider-Man 2. And just let me highlight some of the key features that you're able to unlock and use, like the traversal, obviously, the loop-de-loop, the corner tether, the slingshot, the addition of swing assistance, fall damage, web wings. That is all pretty much brand new in this game, and I don't think I could live without ever not having used again. That's why I think it's to go back and play those older games. It's going to be pretty difficult because those features are not going to be there. And wow, it was just so unbelievable. The combat, I loved absolutely what they did with, this was a bittersweet moment with what they did with the gadgets. They pretty much got all new gadgets for Peter. None of the ones that we saw in the first game really returned. I don't remember all of them, the new ones right off the bat, but obviously Impact Web wasn't there, Trip Mine wasn't there. We got Ricochet Webs and a few others that were similar, but they weren't the exact same thing that we got in Marvel Spider-Man 2018. Whereas Miles, on the other hand, he got all new gadgets as well, but his powers and abilities were pretty much the same, but they, evolved once he came into contact with Mr. Negative. It was bittersweet to kind of see those old gadgets and some of those old abilities not return. It was refreshing to get a little more, something newer, a little something fresh into the gameplay, and it definitely spiced it up quite a bit. The hand-to-hand combat, that was all pretty much the same. Almost all of the finishers were mostly the same for both Peter and Miles. There were like a few thrown in there that were brand new. I kind of wish we got some newer ones on top of the returning ones. I don't have a problem with seeing the returning ones, but they can get repetitive over time. We've seen them a million times in the prior games. So I would have liked to see just a few more cool animations for the finishers, but it's all good. The finishers were epic anyways. I love Peter's iron arms. They definitely had to really find a way to match Miles' special abilities for Peter, so it wasn't a little bit of a lopsided gameplay. So they went with the iron arms, which I thought were super, super cool and OP at times. And I love that when the symbiote abilities came into play, I loved playing with those way more than Miles' bioelectric powers, if I'm going to be honest. And I'm glad that post beating the game, we have the option to still use those. I love the web lines that we can use for stealth. Makes things so much easier. I mean, I loved the stealth in the previous games anyways, but to add the web lines, it made things so much cooler. With the customization of the game as a whole, Insomniac went all out. Like I said before, with the swing assistance, you can add physics-based web swinging, a more physics-based system, which I tried that on Zero right away, and I was struggling. But I mean, I'm playing on Zero assistance now just because I'm more accustomed to it, and I'm learning and getting more skilled at it. But right off the bat, I noticed a sudden degree of difficulty when it came to the swinging, and that was really, really cool. Fall damage, it really adds to that level of realism. If Spider-Man's fallen from over 200 feet, come on, he's gonna get hurt. Even though he's Spider-Man, he's superhuman, he's gonna get hurt. That's what happens. So I love that. And one of my biggest requests was the suit damage, unique for all the suits. And I just wanted to see a little more degree of detail, and Insomniac delivered. The battle damage on the suits is amazing. I absolutely adore what they did. When you look at the advanced suit, when it's all beaten up and battered up, it looks amazing. Even in Miles' suits as well, they look so cool. One feature that it took me a while to get accustomed to it, but now that I've beaten the game and I'm pretty much almost 100%ing and platinuming, I'm glad it's there. And that is when you accumulate focus, when you dodge and beat up guys, you can only heal when you have a full focus bar. And I think that changes the game. It makes it way more difficult. I mean, even without that, I think the game is way more difficult than the previous games. But when you factor that in, it's night and day. It makes things so much more difficult. I can't heal now. I have to wait to build this focus bar up. And that really changed the game with my experience. It made things so much harder. I mean, I played on Spectacular throughout my first playthrough, and it was tough. I mean, there were plenty of bosses that I was struggling to beat. I died multiple times with the Lizard, Martin Lee especially. Those were probably two of the villains that I died the most, more than Venom. I mean, the Craven one, the second Craven one, right before you fight Peter as Miles, that one was very tough too. So I really did love that Insomniac made things a lot more difficult, because before, I could play both of the prior games on Ultimate, no problem, only die a couple of times. It was just beyond easy, but now this game, it is freaking hard. And even on Ultimate, dude, in Ultimate, it's nearly impossible, it seems like. I'm really gonna have to work on that if I'm gonna be able to beat that. Ultimate is, it's gonna be difficult. I love how you can do the slingshot I thought it was just going to be in those designated areas that were listed on the map, but I love that you can do it pretty much anywhere. That is perfect. The loop-de-loop is so much fun to use. Yeah, the web wings, you can literally travel across New York so quickly, especially with the wind tunnels. And I know a lot of people either love the web wings or you hate them because a lot of people think it makes you feel more like Superman. That's fine, I understand that argument, but I do enjoy using them. I don't use them a ton. I only do it when I want to reach like a certain building or get across the ocean in a quicker period of time and I don't want to glide. So I don't use them a ton, but I do use them here and there. Now I do want to talk about story. The opening mission was so damn good. I was unfortunately spoiled for it. Being able to just see it and take it all in myself, it was so good. I mean, Sandman, an iconic Spider-Man villain from the comics and obviously the Raimi movie, Raimi Spider-Man 3. Just seeing him, and it definitely gave me Raimi vibes because that was like ginormous Sandman, and I think he was even bigger. Just that opening missions in the Spider-Man games are just so freaking good.
So good.
The story, it was definitely, you could tell it was there had been some time that's passed from Miles Morales. In this game, as Peter's really starting to settle into Aunt May's house and try and get a solid job down now that Otto Octavius is in prison. And he's obviously Miles' teacher, and he's really struggling as he gets fired because he leaves to go fight Sandman. And then all of a sudden, Harry Osborn comes out of nowhere, and he kind of like, hey Pete, what's going on? And then they start the whole Emily May Foundation, or Harry technically does. And that's what really kind of causes not the rift, but the separation between Peter and Miles. It's Harry and his sudden urge to heal the world. That's where we see Miles and Peter, like Peter's not answering Miles' calls because he's busy really trying to make something work for the Emily May Foundation so he can have a solid job after getting fired from Brooklyn Visions. To add on top of that, Craven comes into the mix, and we learn that Craven was hunting Sandman, and that's what kind of warns them because it takes place 6 months after Craven begins to head to New York. So Craven comes into the mix. We first get to see him when there's that raft break-in when he's trying to get all the villains, and we see Martin Lee. Martin Lee has one of, if not my favorite, just arc in this whole game. So good. I mean, him and Miles, that dynamic. Miles hates his guts at first. Martin Lee, he's a very bitter criminal still, and I just love how they come together. They help out Pete in the end, and Martin Lee is like a reformed man now. So beautifully done by Insomniac. I love that he was able to get that redemption arc because Martin Lee was a good guy at heart. He just had some inner demons, pun intended. So it was very, very refreshing to see a Spider-Man villain in this universe get redeemed because we haven't really seen that a ton. Now, when it comes to Craven, we're going to talk about Craven a little bit. I honestly was a little bit disappointed in where the direction that they took him. I mean, don't get me wrong, Craven is one of my favorite characters. Like, I love what they did in terms of design. The voice actor Jim Peary, phenomenal, killed it. I wish he could play Craven in live action, but Craven in this game, he was kind of cowardly. I mean, he let all of his little cronies and his army of hunters pretty much do all the work. His army really helped him kill everybody. I know they should have helped him because they're his army, but they pretty much did all the dirty work, and then Craven just had to step in and kill them. I mean, and the crazy thing is, we saw so many villains, especially from the last game, Marvel Spider-Man PS4, die. Scorpion, Electro, Vulture, Shocker, and I guess it's sort of been confirmed that Rhino is dead too. Like, that's absolutely crazy. How does he kill Electro? How does he kill Rhino? Like, Vulture, I can kind of get it. And he even said Shocker gave him a challenge. That's kind of crazy. And then, I don't know how I feel about them killing off Craven. I do kind of like that he's got like the whole cancer arc, so that's why he's kind of going gung-ho about trying to find his last hunt, find the ultimate challenge. But I don't really know how I feel about him dying. I feel like it was a little bit too soon, and we could have gotten a lot more of Kraven. That's all I wanted. I wanted a lot more Kraven. I wanted to see him like in fights a lot more. I would have liked. It was cool to see him kill Scorpion. Absolutely brutal. The Peter and Miles fight, absolutely beautifully done. It was so emotional. I had goosebumps the whole time, and I love how Miles was able to bring Pete back to the light, and it was just beautifully done. Now for the elephant in the room, though. I know for the past many months, I said that I did not believe, I was so sure in my prediction that Harry Osborn was not going to be Venom. But it turns out he was. And you know what? I'm not disappointed at all that it happened. Believe it or not, surprising. I know. And I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong. But I said I would be fine with Harry being Venom if they did it in a compelling way, in that it was earned, and that they did something different, a little different. And you know what? They did. It was earned. I can see why he became Venom, because, you know, Peter was being a really big jerk. The symbiote was the only thing at the time that was, you know, keeping him healthy, alive, and the symbiote took over Pete's mind. And it made him not want to give it up. And I can see from Harry's perspective that would piss me off too. So, and Peter, when he finally gets it off, he's like, no, we need to destroy it. And Harry's like, what the hell? I've been just waiting this whole time, and now you finally get it off, and you say you gotta destroy it, and I can't have it? I would have been pissed too. I mean, granted, he didn't know of the real, like, dangers. He just wanted to live. He just wants to live. He didn't want to become Venom, but he's fueled by that rage and anger. And when you get the symbiote on you and you have all of that rage and anger, it's going to lead to disaster and destruction. We actually got to play as Venom for a brief period in this game. I absolutely loved it. So damn cool. Obviously, I wish we got a little bit more of that, but we did get to play as him and like wreck house in the Oscorp building, and we even got a boss fight against Kraven, which was so cool. And then he just, you know, bit off his head, killed him. This is Venom in this game. That's how you do Venom. Venom was absolutely crazy. I really knew that they were gonna make Venom playable, at least for a mission or two. Didn't know it was gonna be a boss battle, but that was freaking awesome. And then the one thing that I did get spoiled about this was the whole Anti-Venom stuff. I was hyped, but I was disappointed at the same time. I love the idea of Anti-Venom. I did predict that a few times in previous videos. So cool, and it was a perfect way to keep Peter having the symbiote ability so they weren't like taken away after he lost the symbiote, so that was beautiful. We did get to see Scream. Mary Jane became Scream, a symbiote. We had a boss fight with her. Absolutely beautifully done. Just the whole dialogue back and forth between them during that. So good, so emotional, and just what Mary Jane was saying really cut deep at Pete, you could tell. It was crazy. Silk, we got a very big tease for Silk, as Miles' mother Rio is dating Silk's father, Albert, I think his name was. So that was super cool to get a little Easter egg and a tease of that for the next game. We did get to see Yuri Watanabe back as Wraith. Such a very good side mission, probably the best piece of side content in this game. And we got to see the one and only Cletus Cassidy at the time, aka known as the Flame, and he got his hands on the symbiote at the end of that side mission, and he says something about Carnage. So Carnage is teased for the next game. At the end of this game, I did get spoiled for this as well. I thought that Peter was going to retire as Spider-Man, so I was prepared for that. I was already looking forward to that. But it seems like he's just taking a break to kind of stand back on his 2 feet and just get his life in order. Taking a little break as Spider-Man. He's not fully done, obviously. So I was really confused about that. I was like, is he done? Is he just taking a break? But now got confirmation that he's just taking a break. He's probably going to give Miles a little more authority, maybe even be the lead Spider-Man. But I got reassured very well. Peter is not done. So, and then The post-credit scene, one of the biggest post-credit scenes, we got a very unusual Norman Osborn visiting Dr. Otto Octavius in the Raft prison, and he's trying to figure out the Spider-Man's identities. And Doc Ock, Otto is he's not going to give it up because he wants Norman to suffer just like he has. And he's writing down stuff in this journal, and he's like, what are you writing down? He's like, the final chapter. So that confirms that a Marvel Spider-Man 3 is going to be taking place, which is super exciting, but bittersweetish. It's most likely going to be the last one. He said the final chapter, so if that doesn't say anything about it, I don't know what does. Oh yeah, also, when Harry was in the coma in his bedroom, in the hospital bed, Norman said, get the G serum ready, and that obviously means Goblin serum, so either Harry or Norman's gonna be Goblin in the next game. I would assume it's gonna be Norman though. I feel like the G serum is not really gonna work. But, so for Spider-Man 3, it's looking like it's gonna be Carnage, maybe not as a main villain, but as a side villain. So Carnage, Doc Ock's probably gonna have a very prominent role in this game, and of course the Green Goblin. And I know it's gonna be many, many years before this next, the third game comes out, because Insomniac's not even thinking about it. But I'm super excited for what that has in store for us, and even a potential Venom game that Insomniac says they would potentially get to working on if the fans want it, which who doesn't want a Venom game? But this game was definitely everything I wanted it to be and more. It's a love letter to Spider-Man fans. It's not just fan service or a nostalgia trip. It was just, they did do some things that I wasn't really a fan of, like, and especially the whole Black Cat stuff. I really didn't really like that. I don't like how she didn't really get a whole interaction with Peter, just on a phone call, and she kind of just dipped. I wasn't really sure that I liked how they are kind of getting rid of a lot of Pete's villains, like killing them off or reforming them. I don't really know how I feel about that yet. I guess it was bound to happen, but I'm still on the fence a little bit about it. But this game, it definitely, over a week later, it's definitely probably still the best game I've ever played. I'm not going to say the best game of all time. Definitely my favorite and best game that I've played. So I'm going to rank this like a 9.8 out of 10 for me, or maybe a 9.7. But yeah, guys, that's my I know I feel like I rambled a little bit through this, but that's my full review, diving into as much things as I could while trying not to keep this too long. If you got something out of it today, make sure to leave a like in this video so it can get pushed out to more and more people throughout the community, and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you love Spider-Man, especially when it comes to Marvel Spider-Man 2. Thank you all so much for watching. See you, chumps.
See you, chump.